When I was a kid back in the early 2000s, there was a question I always had, and that was, what is that anime in the Malcolm in the Middle opening theme? Back then I didn't have access to internet, even though a lot of people had internet. My family didn't. I was never able to look up that anime and find out what it was, but there was something always about it, just that image of the guy standing there in the rain, that always stuck with me. It's kind of getting an anime at that time. With the popularity of Toonami, a little bit later Adult Swim airing stuff like Yu Yu Hakusho or Cowboy Bebop, Trigun, Full Metal Alchemist, Inuyasha, and all those that they aired in that time. So I was getting into anime around that time, and I always wanted to see what that anime was, but as time went on I kind of forgot about it and never really thought about the question again until many years later. I just remember the show and I was like, hey, what's that anime? So I went online and looked it up, and I was surprised to see it was an anime that I've never even heard of before, which is Jikuu Tenshou Nazca. By the time I looked this up, I'd seen many anime, and I was surprised that it was an anime I'd never even heard of. I would have assumed they would have used something that was pretty popular, but it seems pretty obscure. At that point, a few years ago, when I saw this for the first time, I'd never heard anyone even mention the anime. Since then, I've seen it online talked about only in threads talking about it being from Malcolm in the Middle. Rarely I see anyone even really mention the content of the show. You might get a thread somewhere asking, what do you think about this anime? And people just go, yes, no, maybe, I don't know. Can you repeat the question? And then the responses usually end there with no more discussion on it. So I wanted to take a look at this anime that, had it not been for being in the theme song to Malcolm in the Middle, I think would likely have been completely forgotten by mostly everybody. And I still don't think very many people have actually watched it. So I want to take some time to talk about it and answer the question of, is it really worth watching, or is it only memorable because of being in Malcolm in the Middle? Alright, so let's start with some background. So Jikuu Tenshou Nazca, which translates to Dimension Movement of Nazca, is based on a short 2-volume manga written by Akira Himekawa in 1997, and then was adapted into an anime for a single 12-episode season that aired in the spring of 1998. The manga that the anime is based on is very similar to the animation. Pretty much the story is the same with little difference that I can remember, so you're likely to get a similar experience regardless of whether you decide to read the manga or watch the anime. So the story is about a high school student named Miura Kyoji and his mentor and kendo instructor Tate Masanari. Both discover that they are reincarnated Incan warriors, and they end up inheriting a struggle from their past lives. So the story starts out with Masanari in a kendo competition, and he's going into the final match, and he's shown to be a very kind mentor to the main character Kyoji, and we're also introduced to his fiance, who he plans to marry soon. Suddenly during the match, he awakens to his past life, and he severely injures his opponent in the match by striking him with the wooden sword, but the opponent is injured as if he was struck by a real sword. And from that point forward, he begins to isolate himself and withdraw from his student and his fiance. Kyoji confronts Masanari, and they begin to have a duel, and during that fight, Kyoji also awakens to his former life as a warrior named Vilka. Masanari tries to get Kyoji to join him in trying to awaken an ancient power, but the now awakened Kyoji refuses. Kyoji's former self, the warrior Bilka, tries to kill Masanari, but is not able to because Kyoji holds him back because he doesn't want to hurt his master. Masanari then leaves to South America, and Kyoji and Yuka follow after him. When they're there, they slip into a vision of their former lives and learn the details of what happened in the past hundreds of years ago. There they also learn that Masanari plans to take control of the power of the sun god. Masanari's former self, a warrior named Yowaru, attempted to take control of that power in the past by betraying his allies, but ultimately failed. Masanari claims that he wants the power of the gods to eliminate all evil and chaos from the world, but really he will end up using it to destroy the world and eliminate anyone that he doesn't approve of. Pretty much all the main characters are revealed eventually to have also been Incan warriors in the past life. The guy that you see in the Malcolm in the Middle intro is Kyoji's rival named Shinri Shiogami. He is like a secondary antagonist in the story who followed Yawaru in the past. Now that all the characters have awakened to their past lives and their skills as Incan warriors, both sides must now oppose each other. After Masanari tests the power out by destroying a village and killing many people, Kyoji finally is able to commit to fighting against his master and vows to stop him. Both sides come together to fight, and everything ends up coming down to a final fight between Kyoji and Masanari. Kyoji finally defeats Masanari. After that, Masanari seems to soften up a bit, but says that he can't go back to how things were before and back to his old life. Then while they're talking, Shiogami, the guy from the Malcolm in the Middle theme, launches a sneak attack on Kyoji and tries to stab him. But Masanari sees it and blocks the attack with his own body and kills Shiogami, but also dies from the attack. And then that's just about the end right there. The characters that survive end up just kind of going back to their own lives and the anime ends. So as for my thoughts on the anime, ultimately I thought this anime was just alright. It certainly isn't perfect, but it's got a pretty good story, and overall I did enjoy watching it. The animation can be a little low budget. Some of the computer graphics effects for when things like the Incan shrines appear can look pretty cheap, but it's not so bad that it's unwatchable. The regular animation is decent and pretty much what you would expect of the time. Nothing special, but not bad either. I enjoyed the soundtrack. The music in the soundtrack seems to be Incan inspired, and it's pretty unique and pretty enjoyable to listen to. I enjoyed the parallel storylines of what was going on in the present time and what was going on hundreds of years ago in the Incan times, and how parts of what happened in the past were slowly revealed throughout the anime. I thought the setting of the anime was very unique. I don't think I've ever seen any anime or much of any media that dealt with like Incan times and used that setting. Most anime that take place in the past usually end up taking on like a feudal Japan setting. So the Incan theme was a nice change of pace. So that gives it something to stand out against the rest of the mediocre anime out there. The storylines with the past lives and everything give a story a little bit more complexity, and it was interesting to see how the characters reacted to their past lives and if they would be able to break away from what happened in the past and to be able to take control of their own destiny in their current lives. Some of the dialogue could be a little stiff, and the characters' reactions to things aren't always too believable and feel a little stiff as well. So I would say that's probably the biggest weakness. Overall, I would give this 3 stars out of 5. I would say it's just alright, but a little bit better than average. It's at least unique enough to make it worth watching, but it's definitely not essential or anything like that. So if you did skip it, you wouldn't be missing too much, but overall I did enjoy it, so I would consider it worth watching. Thanks for watching the video. It would mean a lot if you would like the video and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be trying to make a lot more videos on a number of different topics related to anime or manga. So I'd appreciate a follow if you'd be interested in seeing some of those videos. So until next time, thanks for watching.